Why don't, we didn't make it all the way on our journey, but in order to give people a chance to ask questions, maybe we can talk about some of those issues while we answer our questions, a couple more slide examples. So people have questions for Eric about the paintings, about the show, etc. Yes?
I'm interested to see some of your sketchbooks, and I wondered if you would talk a little bit about how you use sketching in your work. Yeah.
The question was, the visitor was interested in seeing some of Eric's sketchbooks, which are on view in the gallery with the paintings, and how do the sketchbooks fit in with your work and with your process?
That's a great question. It draws attention to this sort of aspect of something that I'm constantly doing. I mean, I draw all the time, and even the works on, even the wet works on paper, the washes and things. I mean, I just call them drawings, and it's you know, they are independent of the big paintings. They're generally not preparations for them, as you know, sometimes a sketch might infer that. But they're, you know, it's just something to do when I might not have all, you know, that much time in front of me. You know, if I'm running errands and I have a couple of hours on one end of that or the other, you know, I'll find a spot and make a series of drawings. The gouaches lately have been kind of a retreat from you know, like a campaign of painting. I'll be painting for several weeks, you know, with a focus on a certain thing, and then I'll put the brushes, the oil brushes aside, and just sort of take those experiences and make a group of smaller attentive works, these works on paper.
Another question. So the question was, do you ever take photographs to remind yourself of the color?
No, I've never. I mean, when I travel, I take snapshots, like, you know, and you know, photo souvenirs like everyone else, and post them on Facebook and all this. But I don't use photographs in my work. Photographs confuse me. I can't really. I can't tell what I'm looking at anymore, because the way that I've learned how to remember the space that I'm looking at, and now that I'm not painting on the hillside as frequently, you know, I walk through the woods and I see light hitting a tree, a certain angle of light on a branch. I mean, it's something that's really basic as that, and it sticks with me. And then I can go back to the studio and recall that. But I'm recalling all of those spaces and temperatures and tones, and in a way that a photograph, I think, would confuse. And because photographs flatten things out and sort of give everything equal importance, you know, but the mind can't.
Another question?
Eric, how much studio work are you doing? In particular, are you taking some of this heavy impasto? Are you doing some of that back in the studio, or are you doing everything outside?
The question is, how much studio work are you doing, and some of this heavy impasto work, is that being done outside, or is that being done?
Be careful where you step. No, most of the paintings from the past 3 or 4 years are entirely they're conceived and executed in the studio with an eye on that remembered physical experience from the out of doors, and so that accumulation of paint, that encrusted paint, is sort of built out of that experience. Sometimes it's really something that's scraped off that you know, accidentally falls and hits the canvas, and that I learned to work or just leave it and work it into the rest of the painting. And some of it's just the accumulation of one mark over another.
For instance, the paintings lining along the wall, one of those is in the show, and they're 90 by 80 inches, which would make them difficult to maneuver outside, but we're very much a studio production. One more question?
Eric, can you speak to the difference, maybe in your mindset, in terms of the paintings you do when you visit places like Ireland or Scandinavia versus a more constable-like thing of being in a place that you know so well, that you're really trying to see again or re-see or strip away what you know. It's interesting for me, at least, the difference that you had over going someplace like Ireland that's probably completely unfamiliar versus being in a place where you're really trying to take away the familiarity of what you know.
Right.
Yeah, I think the question, if I can kind of condense that, is what's the difference in your mindset between painting in areas you're familiar with, like New England, or in a more unusual landscape, like Ireland, or maybe in the Arctic, in Norway and Finland?
Well, I mean, traveling. I mean, why do we travel other than to sort of open our eyes and keep us excited and fuel curiosities about other cultures? Early on when I started painting and realized that traveling could be a component of that, I thought that going to these sort of faraway, exotic places, not that Ireland's terribly exotic, but it's really a domestic flight from Boston to Shannon. But I thought that I thought they would make the paintings more important and more interesting, and they did to a certain extent. But it ended up being more of a novelty, and but the further away that I got, as I trekked in Siberia and the Arctic and places where people just don't go, and for good reasons, because it's cold, it's bleak, it's far away, but it creates, and the further away you go, the greater the fiction becomes. And that's what painting is, a tremendous fiction. And I could get away with things in the painting there. I mean, it's just, 19th century painters did that in the United States. I mean, they went out west and painted the Grand Canyon and brought back pictures that nobody could possibly believe. And they were all fictions. The skies or sunsets are never that grand, and spaces are never that big, and the blues are impossibly blue. But it was all and then I started to think about how painting and history and all these things that I'm interested in can be fused together, and how my paintings can carry that. I know that other people's paintings have done that, but I've always wanted to answer that question. But like, how do I get there? And you get there by following a bug in your head and believing in it, that if it feels right to you, you just do it, and you don't second guess yourself. You don't second guess yourself in the pursuit of the idea. You don't second guess yourself in the construction of the idea. And then if all goes well, you have a painting that telegraphs that. I probably went way off track.
No, but I think you summed it up very nicely. That's like what this journey is about: is following your own vision and your own thoughts, and figuring out one painting at a time how to make this particular artistic endeavor work. So, I'm going to turn this over to our director and CEO, Susan Strickler.
I'm Susan Strickler, and I just want to say thank you so much to Eric, to Andrew, and to Bruce. Eric, our deepest thanks and great congratulations to you on a wonderful show upstairs. I also want to thank all our sponsors again, Trans-Canada Corporation, our lead sponsor of the Jack and Dorothy Byrne Foundation, Hilda Fleischer, the Finlandia Foundation. Also thanks to Eric's New York Gallery, D.C. Moore. Thank you to the lenders. Thank you again very, very much for this enlightening.
Thank you.